Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 162. Here we are at August 19th, and the music's still going. We just can't stop. It just goes. Thanks, Lee Moon, for the music, by the way. And what we've got today, of course, is a ton of Tesla news in front of us, as we do every week. But first, let's join our cast who's with us every week. Mr. Patrick Connor joins us today from the sunny state of Oregon, it looks like.
Yeah, we are having some nice weather. It's great. Hello to the Tesla Life fans. We are here to help you bring a future free from fossil fuels.
Absolutely. Yep. We're going to, we're doing that and doing it more every day. So fantastic. Also with us, as per usual, Mr. Casey Green joins us from the DC area. And if you were with us last week, you saw a massive box behind Casey. It looks like he's starting to move into installation mode.
So this was supposed to be a white Powerwall, so I'm not complaining that it's actually red of that protective film.
Oh, okay, because it does look kind of white with the camera I'm looking at, but yeah. That's like some sort of a plastic shield on it.
It is.
Okay. All right. So Casey's got himself a red Powerwall. And again, we're curious to see how he's going to be able to back his car into that office at some point to charge it with the new Powerwall. But that's for another show.
Indeed.
That is for another show. Well, this week, first story that we've got is a little update from Teslarati, who indicated that in this particular story that there's a number of different car execs that work for legacy car manufacturers that are starting to feel the pain of over-the-air updates. Obviously, Tesla has began with the over-the-air updates. They've rolled it out to all their vehicles as they've manufactured them, and this is now a staple of how Tesla operates, and I would say one of their greatest features to be able to receive these over-the-air updates through Wi-Fi or cellular connection and update the car when there's any problems or issues they come across, or when they want to add a new feature or a new ability, a new game, whatever it is. Tesla does have that ability, and as we've seen in the past, some of those other legacy car makers are having issues because they tend to have to get people to bring their cars back to the dealership if there's a software update. Typically, the ports aren't all that, set up for consumer use. And of course, the dealer wants to plug in their computer to do that. We've even heard issues from groups that know they need to do this, like, say, VW with their new ID platform. There's been issues where they've had to go around to a number of cars with almost like a USB stick and do an upload on multiple cars. So their over-the-air network isn't quite operational yet. Maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe they're supposed to wait until a certain amount are there, but man, it just seems kind of counterintuitive as to what goal you're trying to reach if you don't have that over-the-air update working from day one. And some, of course, car companies aren't even trying yet. They're not even attempting this. They're still ingrained in a dealership model that you plug a car in, and that's all they've got on the drawing board or in new vehicles that are being released in 2020. So again, interesting to see that people are starting to feel the pain of this because they have a hard time comparing to Tesla. What do you guys think?
It was pretty interesting. Like you said, Tesla kind of did it backwards. They didn't have the home Wi-Fi going until years into it. They were running off of cellular for all of it. That is expensive, and it gets worse the more cars you roll out. But the one that really stood out to me when this article went through all the different troubles everybody had was where Porsche is saying that they can't do the major updates over the air at the customer's home. They can only do them over the air at the dealership. At that point, you might as well plug it in. And their excuse was, oh, well, if it's a major update, we need to make sure that all the chips are in the same version, blah, blah, blah. My Model S a couple times actually updated and didn't have everything at the right version, and it just says a message, you see Tesla service. And both times they scheduled me an appointment at the service center, and both times they sent down another update to reflash the whole car before I even got there. So I ended up not having to make, at the time it was in South Carolina, a 8-hour round trip. Yeah, so I mean, I don't understand what's so hard about it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Patrick.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a feature that Tesla has had since 2012, and so they've had a long time to understand how this is being done and what needs to be done, and they just don't seem to get it. I really am worried about the legacy car makers having much of a future if they can't understand this basic concept that cars are now a technology, and they are just not set up to be technology companies. And people want updates, they want bug fixes, they want new features, they want excitement, they want streamed entertainment, they want games, all these kinds of things, especially if we ever go to an autonomous future. And then you're really going to want to have these capabilities in your car. And they're just not there.
Ones that are the most interesting to me are General Motors and Chrysler, because they've actually got everything they need to do it, and they just do like the head unit. It's like, all right, well, you got most of it there. So like, and if these guys, these bread and butter, run-of-the-mill brands can do it, how can supposed engineering super luxury car not handle it? I mean, their whole thing is a precision driving machines, blah blah blah. You can't do an update? Chevy can do it.
This also gets back to vertical integration, right? This is something that Tesla does, and so they can say this is a design requirement, and so the people writing the software understand it's a design requirement. The people putting in the entertainment center consoles, whatever part of the car needs to be updated, they all know this is a capability, and it's there from the beginning. And if you look at like superchargers, so at some point in the future, Tesla could install Wi-Fi at all of their superchargers and have a default password that they push out to all of the cars, so it just connects. But
just like the service center.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the service centers. When your car goes to service center, it connects to their Wi-Fi because they built it in, because that's what they want. They want to have that connectivity. So. Is Ionity going to do something like that for General Motors or Ford? It's without that. They'd have to have some agreement, and who pays for the bandwidth, and it's just going to be difficult, and it would take them years, and it's not going to happen. And yeah, so I'm.
You would just think though that some of them we believe see the light. It's just that they're not working on it. It appears at all. Like it just seems that, GM, for example, has the OnStar network. That was revolutionary for them to be out front, to have a satellite-based cellular network that could call in and to connect the car. And, the next logical step was to send updates, but it fell short of that. It didn't quite do that. And
right.
I understand that there is some packets that are now being sent through OnStar. So they have the network. They understand that others are using it in a way that would be advantageous to them. It's just a question of committing to it.
They have no sense of urgency.
No.
That's what Tesla has, is this drive, a hunger. They want to improve. They want to get better. They want to keep trying new things and push the envelope. And everybody else all the legacy car makers seem to be like, what envelope? I don't even know where it is, let alone want to push it.
Well, like look at when Tesla does buy components instead of build it themselves. Like the radars, they've always been somebody else's radar, and Tesla made sure they got themselves low-level drivers so they can actually read what the radar sees, not just the radar saying it sees it, like literally, hey, yep, I see that. And they make sure that everything accepts their language for being updated, and it all just goes nicely in one package. And
yep.
I know that the other manufacturers have this capability, because whenever I would bring my Civic hybrids in for repair, maintenance really, they would always flash all the chips, like literally from the transmission to the engine ECUs to the door locks, just whatever had a chip in it would get flashed. And that's exactly what the Tesla does over the air. So is it a matter of not having the backup chips? Like literally when I update my computer and my laptop, they flash chip A, and when chip A comes back and checks out good, they flash chip B. If chip A fails, they either flash it again or they fail and say, hey, take me to service.
Yeah,
and
right.
The car is just a big computer.
Well,
Exactly.
they've got to start to move on this stuff if they want to be competitive. And the time is growing short and shorter. So to those out there, the clock's ticking. So get to it. Or as Patrick has mentioned, there might not be much left for you if you take too long, if you delay too long.
Yeah,
A lot of Chinese car companies coming out.
That's right. There's going to be there are several. We're obviously focused on Tesla here, but there are other EV startups. There are Chinese car companies with electric offerings, and electric vehicles are the future. So this is what I called in one of my stories a Kodak moment for the auto industry. And a Kodak moment used to mean a great time to take a picture, but now it means is the writing's on the wall. The disruption has happened, and you ignore it until you go bankrupt.
Yeah,
this is even more true to the Kodak moment in that they invented this technology, not just in the 1900s,
yes.
but again later in the late 90s. It was GM, Honda, Toyota, and Ford. And where are they all sitting right now?
You are correct. Yes.
Well, our next story is about a pretty large piece of equipment that was installed recently in Fremont. Casey's got that.
Yes. So the Fremont, let's call it the GigaPress. We hinted that it was going to be installed. We didn't seem to imply that it was going to be quite so soon. It sounded like it was going to be closer to the battery day, if not later. But it's in. So now, once this thing is fully operational, the Model Y can be the whole rear of the car can be built in one motion. And at some point on Twitter, Elon had said that the goal is to even do the crash bars. So all the way back from the front where your legs go in the rear seat, all the way to where the bumper mounts will be one motion, one process. It's going to be
so even larger castings are in the future.
Yeah, because the way that they had described it when they were talking with Sandy Monroe was that it would just be those two pieces in the connector, those sort of three pieces technically, would be one piece. But sounds like they went further than that.
And it was interesting that this story kind of mentioned that the installation was almost outside. Yes. Because it's so large that they had to pull apart walls to get this thing into place. So a lot of the installation happened outside of Fremont factory and had to be rolled into Fremont factory.
Yeah, they're just looks like they're assembling it next to the factory, and then they're just going to extend the factory walls around
it. Well, I mean, Elon did say it was the size of a house, and there you go. But so I'm curious what this will do with the since it does include the rear cruise structure. How does that affect collision repairs? I mean, are we going to go back to straightening frame rails, and if they can't be done, then throw it away, or are we going to be able to weld them on?
Hopefully,
that's what I was
they've
thinking
thought
too.
Of those things that there are crush points that are not part of the one big piece. Hopefully that is going to be the case, that in an accident, most likely these crush pieces would be crushed and could be repaired or replaced with new ones, and the major big piece would remain intact. But
on the one today, those two big pieces have a collapsible structure that's bolted to them, and so then that absorbs the impact, and you just unbolt it, throw it away. Actually recycle it because it's just pure raw metal. Then you put in two new crush beams, bolt them on, torque them correctly, paint it, close it up. So if those are integrated now, is there going to be a new crushable structure, or are they still going to be made in such a way that you're not wasting a whole car for it? I mean, I'm sure Tesla would love to sell more cars, but I don't think that's the way they want to do it.
Right.
No, I don't.
Especially since they're going to be an insurance company, the cost of repairs
Yes.
is going to matter quite a bit to them. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have that considered. And if those crush points are part of the casting, well, then they probably have designated areas where they can cut them, take out the old one, and replace them to bolt in new ones. So I'm sure they're definitely designing for repairability as
That's
part of
true.
this.
Yeah, they could still have the bolt holes and not have bolts on the original one. They just
Right.
break them off like a little tabs, or just a big enough area to weld against.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about insurance, Patrick, Tesla is starting to expand the insurance, just not where we thought it was going to expand. Tesla was offering it at this point in California, and we had hoped that it would move out to adjacent states or to other multiple states. It turns out that they've opened up an insurance wing in China, and the Chinese are going to have access to Tesla insurance first. They'll be the first ones outside of California that have access to it. So that was announced just recently in this Tesla Radi article, and it'll be interesting to see if the Chinese take it, if they feel that it's a compelling purchase over their current insurance abilities, or if if it'll be a lukewarm reception. I guess we're going to have to find out what rates look like in China compared to Tesla, and if the market adopts this new option. And then, of course, if it is successful in China, when does it roll out to some other North American states or provinces? We're all kind of interesting to hear when that happens.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see how this is going to play in China. I don't know anything about the insurance industry in China. I'm sure they have different regulations and laws and loopholes, or not loopholes. What is the what are the things hoops you have to jump through to that's what I was going for. Yeah,
The opposite of a loophole.
Yeah, the opposite. Yeah,
More stuff to go through.
Tesla has a big disadvantage in that a lot of insurance companies offer bundles with your home insurance and other insurance, and Tesla's just car insurance. So that's one thing against them. The thing in favor is they're only covering their cars, and like we just talked about, how that would also mean that they could be involved in the repairs and making sure that you're getting genuine parts and other things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Plus, they have your real-time stats. There was a little warning on my last loaner car that said, "Hey, limited to 200 miles, blah blah blah. We don't plan to be dialed into your car constantly, but we can. Although if we have to come get it back, we will surely dial in and monitor it to the second." I was like, "Oh, okay. you can have your 60D back."
Yes, yeah, we talked about being a connected car. So they're one of the few insurance companies that are going to be able to really take advantage of that if you opt into that program.
Yeah, and they could have it on two levels even. They could say, "Hey, we just want the general. We want to know your miles, and we want to know if you use autopilot or not." Or they could say, "Hey, we want the real-time feed fed over to the insurance division, and for that, we'll give you a greater discount." Just like the traditional insurance companies are doing the OB2 dongles, which will return 0 data on a Tesla because it just gives you 12 volts.
Well, our next story, we're going to show a little video, then Casey's going to comment on it. Let's see if we can share this video from Inside EVs. And it's a quick little one here. Allegedly, which will be part of the discussion. But here we go. Oh, just misses a collision, which of course is great. That was missed. Casey, what has been read into this? What have you heard about this particular story?
Oh, the people who shared the video alleged that it was actually the owner's spouse. So they said that the car did all of this on its own, and it was not on autopilot. It was not on cruise. In theory, yes, it could have been the collision avoidance, but I don't know that we've actually seen any collision avoidance make moves like this. Yes, they were.
It was quite dramatic, wasn't it?
Very dramatic and very precise. The spouse apparently felt that they were not that good of a driver, but it looked too human. I would like it to be the system. It just didn't feel like anything that we've ever seen the car do before. And I've done thousands of miles in mine, and when it intervenes, it's usually a nudge, just not often something like this, except for when somebody cuts my path at night and I slam on the brakes, but I don't slam enough. You can feel the pedal get. It's not like it's flattening out from being, the brake fluid being heated or anything. It's literally actively pulling the brake pedal down. It's like, no, you need to hit it this hard, son. And then the car aggressively stops. I don't know why people are cutting us off at night in the rain, because surely they don't see it and think, oh yeah, good insurance payout on this one, because all you see is two bright headlights coming at you.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be. It was claimed that it was collision avoidance system, but we're not really sure. It wasn't the person that owned the car; it was their spouse. So kind of secondhand knowledge. But I agree with Casey that certainly would love it to be the case. I am certainly not going to take my Model 3 out and see if it will do it or not. And I wouldn't suggest anyone out there do that as well. That's certainly not worth it. But we will. I guess we'll see as time goes along. Those type of collision avoidance measures, I would imagine, will be taken regardless at some point in the future. It just becomes a little bit part of the full self-driving suite as to experiences that it has. The actual analysis of data that goes into millions and millions of cars and millions of situations. So we're hoping that type of thing will come true. And I just think that it might be a bit early that's happening yet. So we'll have to see if we get some more instances, of course, with the Tesla Cam. A lot of people will be able to share with that when it does happen.
Yeah, I think what would solve a lot of these allegations is if we could get like a little burn-in, like when Green the Only does his autopilot videos, and it shows you how much throttle, how much regen, how much steering, and if the brake light's wrong or not. That would be, because then we'd know. It would say AP on, AP off, and then
Right.
we could measure it.
Yeah.
It's just that what really makes me skeptical is that typically today, what autopilot and the emergency collision avoidance, what they do is they favor the brakes, because if you're not moving, you're not hitting stuff, and most of their motions tend to be a nudge rather than a jump, especially since we're not at the fusion of the cameras yet. So now it's got to evaluate the scene 3 to 8 different times to figure out if it's okay to jump lane without hitting the car that was. Because it went around the car in the left lane to make this maneuver.
Yeah,
it was probably in the turning lane, but you don't know for sure that. Let me play it again. You don't know for sure that the car doesn't know for sure that this pickup truck that was turning is actually going to make the turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll keep our eye on it, and certainly more videos we'll be sharing in them as they come to light. Next, Patrick's got a story about a Tesla bear throwing in the white towel.
Yes, waving the white flag, throwing in the towel. This is on Teslarati, and it's titled "Tesla Bearish Analyst Waves the White Flag as Tesla Surges into Record Territory." So this is about a Bank of America analyst, and with the announced 5-for-1 stock split, the market has been very excited for Tesla, and the stock has been going up daily, a percent or two, it seems like. And so this person has changed. His name is John Murphy, and he's upgraded Tesla from sell to a hold. And
so he's not quite as excited as the rest of the market.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He has certainly not become a bull, but now he's at least not saying that you should sell any of this if you have it. And he goes through some of his reasoning. One of them is Tesla's quote, unfettered access to capital. And so we talked about how the auto industry is just hasn't understood Tesla and how they've changed the game. And I think the same is true for a lot of analysts who look at this and say, well, it's a car company and they sell a measly amount of cars. therefore they should have this really low stock price. And that's not what Tesla is. It's a technology company that happens to make cars. It's not a car company. So that they're a completely different model, and the analysts that have been covering it haven't. Well, there are a few who've understood it, but for the most part, they just haven't got it at all the way that many retail investors have. So this is actually it is an upgrade, which is great, but more importantly, it's no longer in the sell category. So if a bank's analyst is recommending sell, then the buy side of the house can't recommend that clients should be buying that stock. You can't have one side of your house trying to get rid of something and the other's trying to pawn it off onto their customers if they think it's bad. So a neutral rating allows the other side of the house to be able to do whatever recommendation they would like. So that's a big deal. And especially after the stock split, there's going to be a lot more retail investors that'll have access to the stock at that lower price. So that's great. And I'm happy to see analysts. The whole point of doing stock analysis is so you can invest to make money. And they have been wrong about this company year after year after year. So it's about time that they step aside.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think Adam Jonas was another one of those ones that he came up to it was like $100 behind what the stock had actually just done the day before when he made his report.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not quite a bull again. Someone that's just kind of tailing along and probably hoping it goes the other way. Really, is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Next, a term that I've known.
Before we leave that one, I have to give one disclaimer. I am a Tesla shareholder, and this is not stock advice.
I too am a Tesla shareholder, and I have no plans to execute any positions in the next 72 hours. I'm just a guy on the internet. No advice given.
And don't take advice on your financial future from guys on the internet. Just don't do it. It typically does not turn out well.
That is one good piece of advice you should take from the internet.
If you're not paying them for fiduciary responsibility, then you should probably watch your roll back.
Next is a story with a term that I've never heard of until this story came out. Dojo. Patrick's going to tell us about what the dojo is.
Oh,
Sounds like a bird.
It's the dojo.
So, who doesn't want a dojo in the fourth dimension? So, a dojo is where you go to train, to learn some martial arts. And if you are a neural network and you need to be trained, well, you should go to the dojo and learn how to be a better neural network and get some skills. So one of the hardest parts of having a neural network is training. And you have to go through labeling and then supervised learning. And if you can get to the point where you have a system that can run automatically without human intervention, then you can run it thousands or millions of times, and each time getting a better and better result. So when you have AlphaGo and these systems that can play a game, well, okay, you have the feedback in your score. So they can try different strategies, they can try different moves. They start out horrible, but if you let them play for 2 million times, then all of a sudden, after millions of errors, they figured out what works and what doesn't work. So being able to take in all of this data that Tesla gets, right now, they've got how many cars on the road? Approximately 1 million with 8 cameras and collecting data. So they can put out to the fleet, we're looking for whatever it is, occluded stop signs, rainy conditions, snowy conditions, trucks that are hauling things, when a car cuts you off, like this earlier video that we saw. And if you have the proper data sharing, they can get sent back 15, 20-second clips of that video. They can get all the telemetry that was involved in that. And then they can put that into their neural network, and they can make sure that those situations are comprehended, and that if they come up, that the neural network, they can take care of it. So the Tesla is going to effectively build a supercomputer to do neural network training, and that's what Dojo is. And they are nowhere near having Dojo done. It's probably going to take them at least a year to get this supercomputer going. They're talking about 32-bit floating point operations and the exaflop range. So that's a significant powerhouse, and it's all going to be optimized for their use case, not some generic use case. So it'll be a very powerful system. And this is the same kind of thing that Tesla did with their full self-driving computer. When they built it for themselves, for their own use, it was 20 sometimes faster than the system that they had been getting from a supplier, because that supplier makes a general purpose chip that is used by a lot of different applications, not full self-driving. So having a dedicated system that is super powerful, they're going to get some great results.
Absolutely, and it just makes sense to and as you mentioned, the chip itself, being able to design it yourself for the purpose it's going to be used for, just allows you to cut the waste and make it more efficient and make it more powerful for the application it's actually going to do. So the Dojo computer, I will imagine, will be extremely powerful because it's going to be tailor-made. Makes complete sense.
I was so surprised to see they didn't do anything with the hardware 2 and 2.5 computers, and also that they didn't just use any of the hardware 3 computers to assemble their own cluster.
Yeah, so those are inference engines, and you can use them for training. You can certainly use them to validate the training, but if you and a lot of people do that because the inference engines you make in mass, because those are what get deployed in all the devices, and so you can gang them together to make a training unit, but it's not as good as making a dedicated training unit.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and it would be kind of cool still to see them actually deploy it on Dojo, do a first pass test on a bank of well, they might just do all the cars in the parking lot at the factory anyway, but and then see them roll out in the update to the individual cars.
And speaking of hardware, we don't have this story, but this happened as well. And of course, if you're following us on Twitter and Facebook at the Tesla Life on Twitter and the Tesla Life #1 on Facebook, there was a story released earlier this week about hardware 4 being worked on. So that's no big surprise. We know that hardware 4, hardware 5, and hardware 6 are probably being scoped out as we speak. So it's interesting that, of course, the innovation at Tesla doesn't stop at releasing that hardware 3 that has been replacing some of the hardware 2.5s. No, they've already jumped off of that, and they know the different areas they wanted to work on to make it better. So hardware 4 is on its way, and 5 will be after it. Tesla is not sitting still. This stuff just keeps rolling as engineers get assigned new projects after ones come to light. They are off working on the next generation to make it even better.
Yeah, right. This is pretty cool stuff because they introduced the concept that 4 existed to us when they were explaining to us how 3 even worked. They're like, hey, here's this thing we've had out for a month or two. The next one's on the way. It's not done yet. And now all of a sudden we're hearing all these details as if it's pretty much in the final process for 4. Also, people with 2.0, I've heard that they are also getting their computers replaced now too. What is interesting to me about the hardware 4 is that the chip is physically huge. So I'm wondering if it's going to replace the MCU and the FSD computer, or if they are planning a massive step up in computation, and that's all going to be dedicated to self-driving.
I don't know if the image you saw is actually hardware 4.
Right.
This is definitely in the rumor
3.
phase.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they were saying something like I think 3 times the size of a current desktop processor. Yeah, but if that's the case, though, I'm wondering if it's not going to, if it will be backwards compatible, if that's necessary.
There may not be, but I got to believe with the switches they've already done, they certainly have built that into what they want to be done. So there may be switches in the future. They'll certainly plan for it because they've already done it once. and it's been a little rocky, but they've done it. I'm sure they're going to make it better as time goes along.
Yeah, and if it's all accurate and it's not backwards compatible, then my guess is that these are for CyberTruck and Semi.
Definitely could be. Could
be.
Next story from my neck of the woods. Parks Canada just completes the install of 172 destination chargers at 28 different national parks. Tesla had donated the 172 destination chargers to Parks Canada. And what's really cool is it's not just the regular Tesla charger. There's also J1772s in the mix as well. So every park got a mix of Tesla dedicated and J1772 chargers as well. So any EV could benefit from the donation, and great to see. Some of those parks, of course, are big destinations where people want to have the ability to get there and, of course, get back. So being able to trickle charge your car at level 2 rate as you spend a couple hours makes a lot of sense. So fantastic to see that, and happy that they're installed.
Yeah, that's something that's always impressed me with the Tesla destination charger program is even back in the days of the Roadster, they would still put in, well, once J1772 existed, part of the reason they went their own way on the Roadster is that there was no standard. But once the standard existed, that they always make sure that if there's, well, not always, but nearly every time, if there's more than, say, 3 or 4 pedestals getting installed, they'll make sure that at least one or more of them are standard. And that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Next, there was a new CyberTruck that hit the internet. We saw a very impressive one, full size. The interior looks really good. If you've seen some of the photos, we're not going to share the photos in this particular show, but there's also been a video or two of the vehicle moving. Only major flaw, it's a gas mobile. So it may look nice on the outside, but it's not battery driven. And this particular individual has an eye for detail, definitely. The angles, the look of the vehicle on the outside, the inside cabin, very nice. But major flaw is that it's just a gas clone, and we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And certainly in our future story here with the building of Giga Austin, we might be on time for what they had outlined about a year before we start seeing them roll off with actual batteries.
Even to the interior does sound pretty good.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of that, pile drivers have arrived at Giga Austin, or what do you call it, Casey?
Terra, Texas.
Terra, Texas. So we've now got pile drivers on site in a central part of the Giga Austin site where they've flattened out crushed rock too. So the building looks like it's going to start going pretty quickly based on what's been going on. The earth moving is still going on. But now we're starting to see some heavy equipment move in to, I would assume, start work on the foundation. So very good to see, and moving very quickly.
Texas is behind, but they got to catch up with Germany.
That's right. That's right. And speaking of Germany, that's a great segue, is that Giga Berlin has now got approval on the next construction phase from the local government. So they are now cleared to move on to the next stage. And I think based on some of the readings that we've had to this point, that Tesla has even been running ahead of the clock in certain places where they might have been starting to work on another plan before it was or part of the construction before the entire plan has been cleared. So this shows that that at least the German government is approving what Tesla has laid out for the next part. And as we've seen in the construction photos, they're everywhere on the internet. You can see them all over the place. this modular construction of Giga Berlin is being fast-tracked. The just-in-time deliveries of the components of the building are still ongoing, and the skeleton of a number of buildings have been completed. And of course, we've got roof trusses in place and walls going in place as well to a number of the buildings at the same time. So again, construction is rolling, and we'll see as we get a little closer or a little further into the construction phase is if they can beat Shanghai, which on this show we have said a few times we didn't think so, but in the last show we said, gee, I don't know. They're moving pretty quick.
And then if they do, how does Texas compare?
Oh my gosh!
Right.
If Berlin and its underground RAV actually complete on time, Texas is going to definitely have a new bar to reach. So we shall see. We shall see.
We shall. I'll take the next one.
And finally, out on the West Coast, Patrick, you've seen this. Well, you haven't seen it in your area, but you're a lot closer to it than Casey and I are. They have a tremendous heat wave that's going on, and a number of lightning strikes have caused a number of separate fires to break out in the state of California. And there has been some rolling brownouts. There has been some power disruptions. Certainly, the state is the fire departments are certainly under stress as they're trying to deal with all that's going on with these wildfires, some of them combining into bigger fires. Just watching the news tonight, it's still going on right now, and they're expecting a pretty wild night again tonight based on the news reporting. But what has happened recently is that Tesla owners of cars have been prompted, even right in their cars with messages on screen, asking them to help with the brownouts, asking them to delay charging or to maybe don't take as more charge than you require. So that the state can deal with the brownouts and the power switching that they're required to keep everybody, up and operational. Certainly, air conditioning demands in residences and businesses is a very high demand as this extremely hot temperatures continues, and they need all the AC they can get, and certainly electricity is somewhat at a premium. So. They're being owners are being prompted to help out, and it lists the ways on the screen that those owners can participate and help the state.
And plenty of people are finding that the power walls are going into storm watch as well.
Mm-hmm.
So doing everything they can from all problems of the company there.
Yeah, this really does tie a lot of that stuff together really well. So we talked about over-the-air updates. Well, why is it that these owners can get this notification? Well, it's because Tesla could push it out. It's just some text, and that's really easy to go out to all of the fleet in that affected region. They don't have to push it out worldwide, and it's an urgent issue, so they can push it out right now. I feel like at some other car companies, it would have had to go through legal and taken the 3-month review before the text got approved, and then by then, the whole thing is over. So this is them moving quickly, also. And just the fact that they can do that, they're asking people to charge it off peak, and they actually give you times. I don't remember the exact numbers. Like between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m.
That's right.
They're asking you not to charge, and so that's great if you can avoid it. Well, now you're right there and you're informed, and if you can't, okay, we'll take just enough to get you to what you need to do during those hours, and then the rest you can do off hours. And this is just exactly the kind of social responsibility, using innovation to solve real world problems that Tesla can do that nobody else can do right now.
I mean, even the supercharger network is participating in it, and it just reminds us of back during all the disaster relief. Whenever there's a natural disaster that hits, Tesla unlocks people's batteries. They unlock performance. It's like, hey, we know that you've got a 200-mile that you paid for, but your car can do 260. Enjoy for a little while. Go take care of your family.
Right.
And like you said, that's laser focus. It's only the people in the affected area that get that. It's not like you and I get, oh, hey, here's the extra 5 kilowatt hours in the battery. Just enjoy. No, you have to be right there at the disaster.
Right.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like nobody else should be alerted to a California disaster that's going on when others can't help or be affected by the way that they charge their cars. Obviously, myself in Ontario, it's not going to matter. My grid is completely separate. I've got no way to help in that particular way. So being able to focus on where those owners are and what area of the country and county they're in makes complete sense.
Yeah, I was.
Order yours.
Yeah, I was on a call with some California friends earlier today, and they were talking about how the smoke is in the air and it gets on your clothes, and they're saying, yeah, I can rub my fingers together and just feel grit from being outside. And yeah,
wow,
it's bad.
One of the guys in my circles, he's got he said that the fire's on the other side of the hill, but the wind is blowing the other way, but inside his house it smells like worse than a barbecue.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I obviously, and thank goodness I've never had to experience that type of disaster fire-wise. I had a really short, I guess, experience with it when I was traveled to the Southwest last year. I was coming from Flagstaff down towards Phoenix on a highway, and I could see up ahead that there were a few police cars huddled on the side of the road. The traffic was starting to slow down, and as we got closer, the hillside was black, and I noticed that flames were actually starting to lick the side of the road. So we were on an elevated spot of the highway. The flames were coming up the hill to where the highway was. The police and a few fire trucks were there trying to suppress, I guess, the spread of it, and warn motorists. They were pushing us over to another lane to keep us away from the flames. But very scary situation if you've never been involved with it. The speed that these flames move up and down the hills, in this case in the Southwest, is remarkable. And of course, with everything being so dry because of the drought that's been going on for years now, it doesn't take long for this stuff to spread extremely quickly especially across hillsides. It just seems to go extremely fast.
Yeah, that reminds me of the bioweapon filters. They keep coming up again and again in these fires.
Yeah,
they were originally designed so they'd sell better in the Chinese market, but they put them in all the cars, and that brings costs down for everybody. But then every time something like this hits an actual airborne anything, you can just hit that, and even on the Model 3, it's
certainly an asset for people that are driving in these type of conditions that seem to be happening more and more with climate change. We seem to be, it seems to be a more ongoing thing. And unfortunately, I think like Casey had mentioned, putting it in all the cars probably makes a lot of sense at this point because we seem to be heading into that future.
Yeah. I mean, like even on the Model 3 and the Model Y, they doubled up a regular car filter. So you get twice as much filtration that you would normally expect to see on a car that size.
Yeah.
Yep, and our air quality is getting worse, so this is definitely a useful feature.
It sure is.
Definitely. Well, with that, that wraps up the show this week. We want to thank you for watching or listening. If you haven't already, please press that subscribe button at this point. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us get in the eyes of new viewers, and we would certainly appreciate that. With some parting comments, what have we got, Casey? What have you been working on?
I've got a couple items in the can, ready to hit the YouTube channel. It's at my YouTube channel is at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN, and it'll be exciting. Tune in.
Absolutely. And I watched that gas station less video that you had.
The gasless station.
The gasless station. Yes. And Patrick coined that phrase, but that That was an interesting video. You had that Wawa market that has no gas pumps, but it does have a bank of superchargers. So interesting to see that. Kind of fun.
I was surprised they even put the air pump. I'm like, well, if you're not putting the gas,
exactly,
that's really cool.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Patrick, any parting words from you?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out here to What Drives Us.
Yes.
Yeah, our sister show. So it's another podcast or a YouTube channel that talks about alternative transportation. Not as Tesla focused as this one. Although today we talked a lot about the legacy automakers and what they're doing wrong. So if you like that kind of chat, tune into the What Drives Us show. And as always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at OEVA, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. Thanks.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we'll roll the music, and we will see you all next week, where you can find out what is going on in the Tesla level.
Stay charged. Stay safe.
And wash your hands, damn it, as Casey would say.
I usually don't swear. That would be Georgia.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.